Snow had fallen heavily through the night, leaving our small New England town wrapped in a pristine white blanket. I stood by the frost-covered window, a steaming mug of tea warming my hands, watching the early January light cast a soft glow over the streets. Stillness outside was calming, almost sacred, a reminder of the quiet that had settled into parts of my life since Paul left my ex-husband Sam. My son was only 4 when Paul packed his bags and walked away, leaving us to carve out a new life together. It hadn't been easy, but Sam and I managed. He became my anchor, my greatest source of joy. Now, 21, Sam was. Growing into his own, a budding photographer with dreams that often felt too big for this little town. The sound of footsteps coming down the stairs pulled me from my thoughts. They were steady, confident, reflecting the self-assurance Sam carried these days when he appeared in the kitchen, dressed in a knit sweater and jeans with his camera slung over his shoulder, his face lit up with a smile that could melt even the coldest January morning. "Good morning, Mom," he greeted, leaning in to kiss my cheek. The faint stubble of his beard brushed my skin, a small reminder of how much he'd grown. "Morning, sweetheart," I replied. "Where are you off to so early?" "The lake," he said, his voice alive with enthusiasm. "The lake's perfect after the fresh snowfall, and I want to catch it before it changes," I nodded, pride swelling in my chest. Sam had always had an eye for beauty, noticing details others might overlook. It was why his photographs seemed to tell stories rather than simply capture moments. "Do you want some company?" I asked, surprising even myself. Normally, I left him to his creative pursuits, but today something compelled me to join him. His eyes lit up with excitement. "Really? You'd come with me?" "Of course," I said with a smile. "It's been ages since I've seen the lake in winter." Bundling up against the cold, we set out, the icy air nipping at our cheeks as we trudged through the snow-covered streets. The lake wasn't far, but the walk felt reflective, almost meditative, when we reached the shore. The sight stole my breath. The lake mirrored the pale sky and bare trees lining its edges. Frost clung to the branches, glittering like jewels in the morning sunlight. Sam wasted no time adjusting his camera and angling for the perfect shot. I watched him, captivated by the focus in his eyes and the way his hands moved with both precision and passion in those moments. I saw echoes of Paul, not the man who had left us, but the dreamer I'd once loved. Mom Sam's voice pulled me back to the present. He was watching me with a small smile, his head tilted slightly. "Are you okay? Just thinking," I said, brushing snow from my coat. "Watching you work. It reminds me of your dad," to my surprise. Sam didn't react negatively to the mention of Paul. He rarely spoke about him, but today his expression softened. "Do you miss him?" he asked. I hesitated before nodding. "Sometimes, but not in the way you might think. I miss the idea of what we could have been, the family we were supposed to be. But I don't regret how things turned out. It gave me more time with you." Sam's gaze held mine, and for a moment, words felt unnecessary. He stepped closer, leaving his camera behind, and wrapped me in a warm embrace through the layers of our coats. His warmth seeped into me, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly safe. "I'm glad it's just been us," he said quietly. "I wouldn't change it for anything." Tears pricked my eyes, but I quickly blinked them away. "Neither would I whispered. We stayed by the lake as they climbed higher, softening the snow and melting the frost. Sam captured everything: the sparkle of sunlight on the ice, the gentle ripple of water where the ice met the shore, and the faint tracks of a fox weaving through the trees. Watching him work, I realized something profound. Sam was no longer just my son. He was an adult charting his own path. But no matter where his dreams took him, I knew the bond we shared would always remain. As we walked home, I glanced at him, a smile tugging at my lips. "Sam, yeah," he replied. "Promise me something, anything. Never stop seeing the beauty in the world. We need more of that." He grinned, his breath forming small clouds in the crisp air. "I won't, Mom, I promise." In that moment, walking side by side, Through the snow, I felt something new, a warmth blooming inside me, as though the winter morning had quietly given way to spring. You know, Sam began glancing at me with a mischievous smile. I think I figured out why my photos haven't been standing out lately, Sam announced, his tone reflective. I tilted my head in curiosity, intrigued by his sudden statement. He stopped in his tracks, raised the camera, and aimed it straight at me. My best subject has been right in front of me all along, he continued with a grin. I laughed, brushing off the snow that clung to my coat. You mean me, hardly. I'm not exactly what you'd call photogenic, Sam. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he snapped a photo before I had the chance to protest. That's where you're wrong, Mom, he finally said. You have this natural beauty. It's not about looking like a model. It's about capturing someone's essence. And you're incredible. His words made my cheeks flush, though it wasn't from the cold. You have a way with words, you know that. I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. He winked playfully, part of the charm. He teased. The banter didn't stop there. On the walk back home, he continued to snap pictures, pulling laughter and smiles from me with his lighthearted comments and the inside jokes only we shared. By the time we reached the house, my face hurt from smiling so much, but it was the best kind of ache. I can't wait to show you these, he said as we stepped inside, his boots thewing against the wooden floor. I think you'll love them. Only if I get to approve the edits first, I teased, unwrapping my scarf. And hanging it by the door, he shot me a playful glance as he headed upstairs. Don't be surprised if they turn out better than you expect, he called back. I chuckled to myself, the warmth from our exchange lingering as I busied myself tidying up. Sam didn't come back down for the rest of the day, which was typical when he immersed himself in his creative world from his room. Faint music drifted down, occasionally accompanied by the soft clicks of his camera. Whatever he was working on clearly had his full focus. The next morning, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee stirred me from sleep. I stretched, lazily, reluctant to leave the cocoon of my blankets in the crisp January air. Just as I contemplated staying in bed a little longer, the door creaked open. Sam stood there, holding a tray with a steaming mug of coffee, a muffin topped with a candle, and a small vase of flowers. Happy birthday, Mom, he said softly, his voice filled with affection. Sam, I breathed, my heart swelling with emotion as I sat up, trying to blink back tears. You didn't have to go to all this trouble. Of course I did, he replied, placing the tray on my lap. You deserve it. He settled on the edge of the bed, watching as I blew out the candle, and sipped the coffee. It was perfect, just the way I liked it. The thoughtfulness behind the gesture made the day feel special, before it had even truly started. The hours passed in a blur of quiet moments and shared smiles. By the time evening arrived, the house had settled into its usual stillness. I curled up on the couch with a book, savoring the calm. It wasn't until just before midnight that I heard Sam's footsteps descending the stairs. He appeared in the living room holding a sleek black box, his expression neutral but his eyes sparkling with excitement. Mom, he said, standing before me, I have one last surprise for your birthday day. I set my book aside, smiling up at him. You've already done so much today, Sam. What's this? Open it. See, he urged, his tone teasing curious. I lifted the lid to reveal layers of delicate tissue paper nestled inside. It was a stunning set of black lingerie paired with a satin robe that felt impossibly soft beneath my fingers. I stared at it momentarily at a loss for words. Sam, I began, my voice faltering. This is beautiful. There's more, he interrupted with a growing grin. Put it on and come upstairs, trust me. I hesitated, unsure what to make of his request, but the excitement in his voice was infectious. Gathering my courage, I nodded and carried the box to my room, once dressed in the robe with the lingerie underneath. I climbed the stairs, a mix of nerves and anticipation building within me. As I pushed open his door, I froze in awe. The room was bathed in a soft red glow, with light diffused through fabric draped over the lamps. A sleek silver pole stood in the center of the room, surrounded by faint wisps of smoke curling from a machine in the corner. On a nearby table lay a black leather cat mask, sleek and elegant. Sam turned to me, camera in hand. "You look amazing," he said warmly, his voice genuine. Handing me the mask, he added, "Put this on. It'll make the photos even better." Though I hesitated, his reassuring smile encouraged me. "It's just for fun," he said gently. "You've always done so much for others. Let me do this for you." Taking a deep breath, I slipped on the mask and stepped into the glow of the red light. Upbeat music filled the room, its rhythm energizing. At first I felt awkward, but Sam's compliments and laughter quickly put me at ease. He guided me with care, capturing moments that felt playful and empowering. "You're a natural," he said, lowering the camera briefly. "I don't think you realize how incredible you are." His sincerity caught me off guard, and as I met his gaze through the red light, I felt something shift. This wasn't just about photography or birthdays, it was about a deeper connection. As the night unfolded, I let myself trust him completely, shedding my inhibitions to simply live in the moment. The music's beat pulsed through the air, blending with the red glow and the soft haze of the smoke machine. I felt a rush of exhilaration, a rediscovery of parts of myself I'd long forgotten. Sam paused, studying me with a thoughtful expression. "You're incredible," he said, his voice tinged with admiration. "Where have you been hiding all this confidence?" Laughing, I shook my head, hiding it. "Sam, this isn't exactly what I'd call my usual Thursday night." "You've got talent," Sam said with a grin, "and I think you're enjoying this more than you're letting on." His playful comment made me smile. He wasn't entirely wrong. There was something liberating about letting myself be seen in a way that felt both empowering and vulnerable. Then a memory surfaced, something I hadn't thought about in years, hidden beneath layers of responsibility and routine. "You think this is impressive?" I teased, crossing my arms with a mischievous look. "You haven't seen anything yet." Sam raised an eyebrow, curiosity flickering in his expression. "Oh, what else are you hiding?" "I used to take heels classes," I replied, slipping the satin robe from my shoulders to reveal the delicate lingerie beneath. I still remember a move or two. His eyes widened in surprise, and he stepped back dramatically, gesturing with his camera. "Okay, now you have to show me." "Fine," I said with mock seriousness, "but don't you dare laugh." I stepped toward the silver pole, the mood in the room shifting to one of anticipation. It had been years since I'd done anything like this, but muscle memory is a funny thing. Kicking off my heels, I gripped the pole, climbing with ease before arching gracefully into a spin. The movement felt smooth, a testament to the countless hours I had spent perfecting my form in the past. Sam stood frozen, his camera momentarily forgotten as I transitioned into a sequence of moves I hadn't realized I still remembered. A fireman's spin, a pirouette, and even a daring climb up the pole. The soft red light reflected off the silver surface as I descended, my movements fluid and confident. When I finally landed back on the ground, I turned to see Sam clapping enthusiastically, his grin wide. And "Genuine, Mom, that was amazing," he exclaimed, striding over to me. "How did I not know you could do that?" I shrugged, breathless, but exhilarated. It was a lifetime ago. "I took classes for fun before you were born. Who knew I'd still have it?" "Well, I'm officially impressed," he said, his voice softening as pride flickered in his tone. You're beautiful." The sincerity in his voice caught me off guard. He stepped closer, leaning in to kiss my cheek, the warmth of his affection lingering just long enough to reach me. "You really do look incredible tonight," he added, stepping back to give me space. "I mean it." For a moment I was at a loss for words. His smile and the genuine admiration in his voice made the moment feel profound. "Thank you," I murmured, adjusting the robe around my shoulders. "That means a lot, Sam." The music shifted to a softer melody, and I became aware of how quiet the house was. Beyond the walls of his room, the world felt distant, irrelevant. Here in this space, it was just the two of us, sharing a connection that word couldn't capture. Sam picked up his camera again, raising it with a smile. Mind if I take one last shot? Just you by the pole? Nothing fancy. I hesitated, but his encouraging look made it hard to refuse. Leaning lightly against the pole, I let the robe draped loosely over my shoulders, meeting his gaze through the lens. The flash went off, capturing a moment I knew I'd never forget. Perfect, he said, lowering the camera. You're a natural. I laughed, shaking my head. I think you're just a really good photographer. He stepped closer, his expression softening. Maybe, he said, but I think you're giving me too much credit. You've always been extraordinary, Mom. I'm just lucky enough to see it. His words left me speechless. For all the playful teasing, this moment felt profound, like we had rediscovered a part of our relationship that had been quietly waiting to resurface. The evening wound down gradually, the atmosphere settling into a comfortable silence. Sam eventually packed away his camera, and we shared a late-night cup of tea in the kitchen, laughing about how out of breath I'd been after my impromptu performance. It felt natural, easy, as though the night had drawn us even closer. By the time I climbed into bed, my mind swirled with emotions. Pride, joy, nostalgia, and something else I couldn't quite name. Sam had always been my world, the reason I pushed through life's toughest moments, but tonight he had given me something I hadn't realized I needed, a chance to feel alive again. Tomorrow life would return to normal, but as I drifted off to sleep, I carried with me the memory of red light laughter and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son. The next morning, the house felt quieter than usual. Sam hadn't come downstairs, and as the hours passed, I began to wonder what he was up to normally. By now, he'd be in the kitchen brewing coffee or fiddling with his camera. Instead, there was an unusual stillness, a sense that something had shifted. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to check on him climbing the stairs. I paused outside his door, listening. I heard the faint sound of his voice, a low murmur accompanied by soft movements. I knocked lightly, but didn't wait for a reply. Sam. I called as I opened the door. What I saw made me stop in my tracks. He was lying on his bed, legs stretched out, camera in hand. The screen glowed faintly, and I recognized the images instantly. Photos from the night before. My photos, the ones taken under the red light with the satin robe and the soft haze of smoke at the sound of my voice. He turned sharply, fumbling to switch off the camera. His face flushed crimson, and he sat up abruptly, avoiding my gaze. Mom, he stammered, I didn't hear you knock. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. Sam, it's okay, I said gently, trying to ease his nerves. Why did you turn it off so quickly? You can show me. His fingers gripped the camera tightly as he looked down at it. I didn't think you'd want to see them, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. They're personnel. I offered a soft smile, moving to sit on the edge of the bed beside him. Sam, you took those photos. I trust you. And I'd like to see what you've captured for a moment. He hesitated, his knuckles turning white as he gripped the camera tightly. His face remained flushed, the tips of his ears glowing red, but after a brief pause, he exhaled deeply and nodded reluctantly, passing the camera to me. I didn't mean to make this awkward, he murmured, his gaze fixed on the floor. I wanted to make sure I got everything right. I took the camera carefully, switching it on and scrolling through the images. Each photo was stunning in its own way. He had captured me in a light I barely recognized. A mix of softness, strength, and beauty that felt almost otherworldly. Some pictures showed me laughing, my head thrown back in genuine joy, while others were more poised and intentional, the red light casting a warm glow that enhanced every detail. Sam, I said, my voice trembling as I looked at the photos. These are amazing. Finally, he glanced up, his expression a mix of nervousness and hope. You really think so? I nodded, meeting his eyes. You have such a gift, Sam, the way you see the world. The way you see me. I don't even know how to put it into words. A shy smile tugged at his lips, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. I just wanted you to see how incredible you are, he said softly. You've done so much for me, Mom, and I wanted to give something back. I set the camera down and reached for his hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. You've already given me so much, Sam. More than you could ever realize. For a moment, we sat in silence, the unspoken emotions between us heavy yet comforting. His cheeks still burned under my gaze, but there was also a vulnerability in his expression, a reminder of just how much he had grown. You're blushing, I teased lightly, hoping to ease the lingering tension. He chuckled softly, running a hand through his hair. I just didn't expect you to walk in while I was looking at them, he admitted with a sheepish GR. You don't need to feel embarrassed, I said, handing the camera back to him. You've created something beautiful, and I'm so proud of you. As he took the camera, his fingers brushed against mine and he held it close to his chest. Thanks, Mom, he said, his voice quiet but filled with emotion that really means a lot. I leaned forward, pressing a kiss to his cheek just as he had done for me the night before. His skin was warm and his eyes sparkled with gratitude as he smiled. You have an incredible talent, Sam, I told him as I stood. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. Leaving his room, I gently closed the door behind me. A wave of pride and affection washed over me as I reflected on the moment. Sam wasn't just my son, he was a remarkable young man filled with talent, compassion, and heart. Although the events of the previous night had been unconventional, they had brought us closer in a way I never imagined possible back in my own room. I couldn't suppress the smile that spread across my face. The photos, the laughter, the shared vulnerability, all of it felt like we were building something uniquely ours. Something real, raw, and undeniably beautiful.